Now, it's important to know that El Rufai's son, Bashir El Rufai, stated on X that the current governor is building a banquet hall for 7 billion naira, while in the same breath lamenting about debt left by the previous administration. Joining us to look deeper into this conversation is Jide Johnson, a public affairs analyst. Good morning. Thank you very much for joining us. What do you make of this saga happening with El Rufai? First of all, I think we will go back to the claims that he made about the government sort of still paying subsidies before we get into this current story.
If you think what is happening is about you and I, we are just playing to the gallery or playing the ostrich. It's not about us, it's about the 2027 game. That's just what you're seeing. And they are just scratching the surface in order for them to either unsettle each other in the fight for 2027. Because as far as I'm concerned, you have the State House of Assembly constitutionally required to do an oversight function and to ensure that there is due diligence and compliance with whatever the Appropriation Act that was passed during his tenure. And I'm sure present members of the Kano State House of Assembly were members of the Kano State House of Assembly when El Rufai was governor for 8 years. They folded their arms and they did practically nothing. And now that El Rufai has gone rogue, they also wanted to go rogue by probing him. Besides that, you have a federal agency that is charged with that responsibility. What has the EFCC done with respect to the class of 2015 to 2023 governors? You recall that in the past, the class of 1999, which the present president governor belonged to, when they finished their tenure in 2007, they were all invited by EFCC. The class of 2007, which Fashola belonged to, and some other governors, when they finished their tenure, they were all invited. But the reverse has been the case in recent times. So as far as I'm concerned, this is about just high-wire politics. The members of the Kano State House of Assembly, they were, quote-unquote, handpicked by El Rufai to run for the State House of Assembly election, particularly the APC member, and even the governor himself. So as far as I'm concerned, if they are really thinking about carrying out this investigation, doing a thorough investigation, they shouldn't have waited for this time. They should have prevented this from happening. And beyond that, what comes out of this investigation? We have had series and series of investigation left, right, and center that we don't eventually see the outcome of the investigation. The present Senate president, the record before he became the Senate president, was under EFCC investigation. And then when EFCC was looking for him, they said, oh, he had to go abroad for medical emergency, that they need to attend to a medical issue. So when we see all of these things, it's not, we have seen the politicization, and that's what a lot of people are kicking against. Look, the law should be applied regardless of who is involved. Rather than apply the law to the political class, what do you think that the EFCC does? The EFCC one goes after Yahoo boys, which are just small scales, people involved in economic and financial crimes. They go after, now the far the intent is to go after people spraying naira, whereas you are not going after people stealing billions of naira from public fund, not complying with budgetary provisions, committing heinous crime against the state. So as far as I'm concerned concerning this, don't get involved and don't get emotional with this fight, because with the political class, you may never know. Today, the same House of Assembly that is investigating El Rufai can come out tomorrow and give him a clean bill of health.
Yeah. Well, let's also, bring in, the Abdullahi Ganduje case. Do you think it's similar, or is there more to what's going on with Abdullahi Ganduje?
Yeah, you recall that even that one is even is an assault on our sensitivity, and that Ganduje should even be made the national chairman of APC. When you had on tape a case of corruption against him, that he should even be the first person that should be invited by the FCC once he lost his immunity as governor. But what was done? He was rewarded with national chairman of the APC. And then if you see what is playing out in Kano, you also know that it's about the high wire politics concerning 2027. they've drawn the gauntlet. And for me, dealing with the issue of corruption shouldn't be politicized. There's no doubt that these people have questions to answer. There is no doubt that we must hold people accountable. Because if you are given a responsibility at the end of your tenure, you should be able to account for whatever responsibility and whatever role we have assigned to you, whether you perform creditably well, whether you dip your hand in the cookie jar or not. Excuse me, we should be able to do that, to investigate that, and to ensure that that matter is dealt with this part. But when you begin to politicize it, you don't get to the root of the matter. You not get anything done, because you recall when Adams Oshiomhole was APC chairman under Buhari. He said, if you once you cross over to APC, regardless of whatever corrupt cases your sins are forgiven. These are documented evidence that people have said. So when we see this, it's just to unsettle the political landscape and to send wrong signal that something is working. What you see in Kano is just what is playing out with respect. Fortunately, it was Ganduje himself that established the state economic financial crime institution. And besides, I learned his response was that it can only be prosecuted by the federal EFCC. If there is a state version of the EFCC, Ganduje can be prosecuted because he was the governor of Kano State. He was not the governor of the states in the federal capital territory. Even there's no state in the federal capital, so he can be prosecuted by the agency that the state has within the confines of his own law.
All right. We'll come back to this, but I want us to quickly touch on the Ganduje saga as well. I want to find out your thoughts. I know you've been following the story, to find out what your thoughts are on that and how it's progressed so far.
For me, when we talk about restructuring, when we talk about having, you see, the basis of partisan representative democracy is the party structure. Now, in Nigeria, what we have is an over-centralized party structure, whereby the power belongs to the national secretariat, whereas the power belongs to the ward. Everybody joins the political party from the unit. That's how the day you want to vote, you go to your polling unit to vote. From your unit to your zone to your ward. That's the political structure. So the greatest power in any political spectrum is the ward. That's where you get your membership. You don't get your membership at the state level. You don't get your membership at the national level. You get your membership at the ward level. So when you want to talk about taking disciplinary measures against anybody, regardless of whatever status that person has, it starts from the ward. However, we have seen over-centralization. For example, look at what happened in Ondo State. They are conducting the primaries of APC. When they wanted to do the screening of the gubernatorial, they took every one of them. They took every one of them to Abuja. This is an aberration. It's an aberration to representative democracy. It's an aberration to the system of government which we practice, which is federal system of government, which talks about power, devolution of power among the federating units and the constituent units of the nation. So you could see the high power politics. One, Ganduje was suspended by the ward. The state responded by dissolving within hours, by dissolving the state, by dissolving the ward executive council of they did not wait for the local government executive council of the party to deal with that.
Permit me to interrupt very quickly. I think the question that I meant to ask, that I should have asked, was, following the story so far, today he's appearing in court. There are fresh allegations of over 51 billion naira misappropriation of funds. What are your expectations from the court's appearance today?
Well, we'll wait for that to play out, and I think that will be a long drawn battle. Even the one that has happened in the party, we go to the courts. You see that we have the judiciary was heavily involved in the outcome of 2023 election, and I can tell you for a fact, moving forward to 2027, the judiciary will be heavily involved in terms of corruption cases against some of these gladiators and players, and in terms of the party structure that we have at the party system. So the court will be heavily involved, and with the court you may never know where the outcome will be, because until they pass their judgment, everybody is still on his toes, and it's not an easy time for Ganduje with respect to the court cases as far as I'm concerned.
All right, Jide Johnson, thank you so much for your time with us. We certainly will be following up with the story, and we look forward to having you coming back to react. when we see what exactly happens in court.
It's a pleasure to be with you this morning. Have a wonderful day. Thank you very much for having me.
All right.